Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts. Hello everybody, the ominous music means we're back talking the Acolyte from the galaxy far, far away. I am Sam, this is the Stuff and Things Podcast. Joining me, it's Stefan.
Hello there.
Nice, yeah.
How we doing?
Yeah, good, yeah, I'm alright. Yeah, it's hot, but it won't, but it's gonna cool down a bit. I'm being a typical Brit where I'm just gonna talk about the weather to begin every podcast we do, and as we're currently doing 3 shows a week. When did that happen, by the way?
Oh, I know, right? We had nothing like January to April. We had like one thing.
That was great.
Now,
we knew it was going to pick up. Like, we knew it was going to be busy and stuff. But come on, people, plan your shows better. Give us like one a month.
And it's literally like one of these finishes, and then another one starts straight away.
Well, on the plus side, I would say that it's good though. I'm enjoying the stuff I'm watching. Very different. Like, we're doing 3 shows a week, and I don't think you could get more kind of polar opposite corners of weird and wonderful.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And if you add in the fact that we're going to have the Umbrella Academy in August, then that is the 4 corners of all over the place. Really.
Messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. This podcast is rolling 3 shows a week at the moment. We're talking about House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones spin-off. We're also discussing The Boys, the Amazon Prime original series in its penultimate season. And we are here today talking about Star Wars The Acolyte Ep5, and the title of the episode was...
I'm so happy to say the episode was called Night.
It was. That did cheer me up. I did see that, and I was like, good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Although I do have that stupid, I can't remember the name of the artist now, song Day and Night in my head. Day and Night. That's it, yeah. So now I've got that sort of...
What a song.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But it's certainly catchy, and certainly one that once you read the 2 episode 4 day, episode 5 night, day and night, that's it, you're gone then. You're kind of stuck on it. I'm kind of like, where do I begin with this? So I'm going to begin with the standard opening to every episode of the Acolyte podcast, which is people be hating.
I don't get it.
No, you don't get it.
I don't. Not this episode. This episode was great.
Oh, okay.
I genuinely, I thought this episode was great. It was action packed. It moved us all along. It's left us on a bit of a conundrum at the end. There was some weird bits happen during it, but this was a good episode.
I mean, I've enjoyed the show full stop. I mean, I've been intrigued. I think I said this to you yesterday when we sort of had a brief conversation about it. If you want to, you can really pick holes in anything.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You can really, like, go at it. And a great
if you're
example,
going to go down the comic book sort of genre and that sort of
because I mean, like,
everything is different to an extent, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like, so for example, me and you, big Marvel fans, you definitely, I mean, you've literally decorated part of your body in honor of Marvel.
I've never finished one.
And so that's a tattoo, by the way. Just it
will be finished one day. It will be finished. Yeah.
And and so to me, it's kind of like a interesting. Like I was thinking about it because I think you said to me about there's some bits in this that I didn't really didn't get or thought was a bit off or clunky. And I'm like, that's granted. But like if you were to sit down and watch Iron Man 1, right, that film, which I love, right, that film I think is
masterpiece.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Right. You can quite easily go, well, that's ridiculous. That's stupid. You're telling me to put an electromagnet in it? No, that's dumb. Because you're not suspending your disbelief. You're not kind of... And yet people are watching Star Wars The Acolyte set in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago. Total science fiction, where everything is made up. Like, everything is made up. All of this is fiction. All of this is sci-fi. And are then complaining that the made-up thing's slightly different to what they thought the made-up thing was. I get there's certain gripes. Like, you can sort of say, like, oh, in episode 1, she's looking at a fire in space. Why is there fire in space? Well, in the galaxy far, far away, a long time ago, there's always been fire in space. Explosions and stuff like that. That's been a thing. It's always been there.
Yeah.
And if you burn fuel... But anyway, look, it's just one of those things where I think if you go into something with an attitude of, I am going to nitpick, I am going to, like, make this just go through every single moment.
Oh God, you could find so much stuff in everything. Yeah.
Well, you're not
so much.
You're not going to enjoy it at all, are you? You're not going to enjoy any
You're watching
aspect.
it for the wrong reason. If that's what you're doing, you're watching it for the wrong reason.
Well, why are you still watching it?
Yeah, it's true.
Like
but then we come back to my favourite thing is the amount of hate this show gets from people that haven't even watched it. So, it's a strange universe out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode, it had a lot of fun in it. It had some good scenes in it. It had some great action scenes, let's be honest. This goes up there with, I think, some of the best the Jedi kills ever. This is a good episode, I think. Well, and like you say, I think the actual show itself. Now, I put my hands up at the beginning. The show went in a different route to what I expected.
Yeah.
But they didn't make me turn around and go, "Oh, it's crap. Don't like it." It just made me go, "Oh, okay, this isn't what I was expecting." Okay. And by the end of the second or third episode, I was like, "Oh, I'm onto this again. This is great."
Just out of interest, what was your expectation compared to, what do you see as your expectation to the show and the difference? What was it you had in your mind?
So, in my mind was a bit more kind of, I think, murder mystery sort of thing. Like, we've got the kind of mystery of what did the Jedis do, but for me, it was more the Jedis were going around trying to stop the Jedi being murdered, but having no idea who was going to be next or why, and trying to piece it all together. Yeah. Whereas in the first episode, we got told it's May and she's killing these 4 people, and this is why she's doing it. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. I was expecting it to kind of be an ongoing, like, these Jedis that we're following, basically trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
And to then eventually stop the person from doing it.
Yeah.
Not be told straight away, it was her with the dagger in the bar,
Yeah. No, I
do.
No, I got that, yeah. No, or Clue for our American listeners. I don't know why you missed the deal off it, but yeah, no, I do get what you're saying. I do think this is something that me and you can come back to quite a lot, and I'm guilty of this, and I think everybody is, of creating an expectation in your mind based off of a trailer, perhaps, and stuff, and then being disappointed that it's not that, if that makes sense.
Well, none of us expected Trinity to die so quickly.
No,
Jedi Trinity.
No, absolutely not. Jedi Trinity did not last long. Clearly, she could no longer see the Matrix. But my kind of I guess my point is that if you go into something with an expectation and it's different, I've now got to a point where I don't feel that that's a bad thing. I feel like, okay, that's good, because I've watched the trailer and I've got an idea in my head based on that, and the show's actually subverted that. It's actually kind of gone, see, you thought it was this story, when in fact it's not. So if we just break this down in this, like, we looked at the trailers and we looked at it's called The Acolyte, and we looked at it from a point of view of, this show is going to all be about Jedi trying to find a mysterious Sith killing Jedi. And the Sith's the outright baddie. Obviously, the Jedi are the goodies. And they're going to be, like you said, a kind of murder mystery, trying to piece it all together. They don't know the Sith exists, etc., etc. And that was kind of where our head was. Yep. In reality, this show appears to be, for me anyway, at the outset, definitely features someone who identifies as a Sith, who wants an apprentice, because, always two there are.
Yes.
But actually, the kind of mystery or the kind of main story again is that the Jedi aren't all wonderful, good, happy-go-lucky, peaceful monks. It would appear that this four, or certainly the one that's remaining, have done something bad.
Something has happened, yeah, definitely.
And yeah, so we're going to dive into the episode now, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch on that in a kind of overall way, because I do think that people can run into this kind of, oh, this doesn't quite work for me. And just one last thing on this, because there's a few Star Wars content creators who I quite enjoy. There's the one big one who I just think's an asshole, who I'm not even going to name. And then there's a few guys who do like Mandalorian content and stuff like that, and I really enjoy the stuff, and they're hating on this show as well. And so I've kind of listened to them a little bit because I wanted to see what their review was. And the thing that's kind of frustrating me is this kind of, one of them is just all on, the writing is so terrible, everything is predictable. And I'm like, well, look, I watch all Star Wars stuff. I've read books, I've done everything. I watch countless shows. I do a podcast, so when I watch stuff, I analyse stuff, and I take notes and things. I tend to watch things a couple of times before I record even, so I am doing stuff to beyond just casual fandom, if you like.
Yeah.
And yet I'm looking at it going, this is no different to the other stuff that really you're saying you love. Like,
I mean, Craig, if they want to talk about predictability, I watched The Phantom Menace and instantly knew that young kid was going to become Darth Vader.
No.
Come on.
You think that's funny. I open our inbox and I know for a fact that no one's going to think you're joking about that, and people are just going to call you the biggest idiot in the world.
Yeah, probably.
So, just to be clear, to try and cut down on the hate mail, he was joking. He obviously knew that Anakin blew up the Death Star. Anyway, so yeah, I mean that didn't help. That kind of thing
that did not help them at all.
That kind of thing, like this, like I know it could be as easy as a slip of the tongue, but that shit doesn't help. But my point is, like, one of these people is like a big thing about The Mandalorian, massive fan of that show. Are you telling me that at no point when you're watching that show, especially season 1 into season 2, you didn't predict the methodology of that show? You didn't go, oh wait, we're arriving on a new planet. We're trying to put together a big mystery. To get that information, I need to do this side quest. I'm off on the side quest. Oh no, yeah. I've only now got a little bit of the information, not all the information. That means next week, guess what I'm doing? Arriving in a new place, doing another side quest. That show is the definition of just, it's a method. It's just,
yeah, rinse and repeat every week.
That is what that show is. I loved it. I loved The Mandalorian. I'd watch that show happily every single week, but don't watch that and tell me how amazing it is and how good the writing is, and then shit on this because this is doing things differently. Don't like things, by all means. Like, don't, by all means, say, oh, this isn't for me. But don't call it shit and everything like that when it's just your opinion. And don't get me wrong, I hold my hands up to certain people who would go, hey, this isn't for me, I really don't like it. That's fine, that's your opinion, great, you're more than welcome to talk about it, and that's your view. But don't sit there telling me that The Mandalorian's a writing masterpiece and this writing is terrible. Oh, it's so predictable, I knew what was going to happen. Yeah. And...
yeah, congratulations for working it out. Yeah.
I mean, I don't, it's so difficult because I don't like doing this. I don't like doing this kind of accusatory thing. But do you think, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, so apologies, when you've got The Mandalorian, which is formulaic, it is predictable, no one can deny that, surely, and all the characters are male, main characters are male, and then you've got this other show where you've got a diverse cast and the writing, maybe it's predictable, I don't know. I personally think the story is kind of taking me off a few ways I wasn't
I
expecting.
mean, we went into this episode with each of us having a different theory over who was going to be at the Smiler Mask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and only one of us was right.
It's tripped. Yep.
Yeah, but do you see where I'm going with it? It's like I don't know. It jars me. I don't understand how you can be like this massive fan of this and someone I've really enjoyed listening to and stuff, and then slate the other like just say, oh, I don't like it. It's not for me. This isn't a story for me. I hope everyone who's enjoying it enjoys it, but it's not for me. But to attack its writing, calling it predictable, come on, man. All of Star Wars is
lazy It's like lazy criticism, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just being critical for being critical's sake at that point. Like there's a couple of things in this episode genuinely has me like scratching my head. Like, is this bad writing or is this going to get retconned? And that's something else as well. We talked about this in our Discord chat. And just for anyone who's listening who'd like to join into that, we have a Discord. It's basically just a chat room. We have all the shows we talk about in their own little subsections, and people can get involved. There's a very small group of us in there, just basically because no one seems to want to use Discord, I guess. But yeah, it's all in there. It's all chat based, and we just talk about different things, different theories, and talk about the shows that we podcast about. And in that, there's a gentleman in there who's Mike, who said he's basically looking at the show, and it's like, people are complaining, but we've not seen the whole story yet. It's like, getting halfway through a song and saying, oh, this song never ends. Discord, you've got to listen to the end, you dumbass. So it's like you're complaining in this show about stuff. It's not ended yet. Like at the end, if there's certain things that they've not addressed and you go, oh, that's annoying. Yeah, I'd agree. But if we get to the end, like, because so many times me and you have picked stuff out in episodes, like, oh, and then the next episode's like, there we go. There we go. So let the frigging thing happen. Like, let it unfold. By all means, say, like, this is curious, or like, why was this happening? But don't slag the show off because of it. Pick it up and wait.
I've seen a lot on that. I've seen a lot on social media kicking off about the fact that they're not going to tell us what the Jedi did. And it's like, there's another 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's the big reveal that's going to happen at the end. Like, clearly, that's what's going to happen.
You'd think. I mean,
so
it depends.
You can't sit there halfway through and go, they won't tell us. Well,
it depends. If they thought they were getting a season 2 and they leave it on a cliffhanger and then it gets cancelled, I think that could be a nightmare. I think I'd cry. Yeah, that would be very annoying. But anyway, so in this episode, it is called Night. The episode begins. I'll tell you one thing. Right at the start of this episode, I did have a moment of, oh no, if they do this, people are gonna lose their minds, and I'm one of them. So at the end of the last episode, Osha gets thrown, right?
Yeah.
And then you see the Sith like force push all the Jedi, and then it goes to black.
Yeah.
At the start of this episode, Osha's kind of waking up and kind of looking around. I'm like, I swear.
There's a dead Jedi on the floor, and you're like, if we've missed it. If we've missed the fucking fight.
If we've missed a massive lightsaber fight, like, and we're not going to see it, we're just literally going to see her, like, oh, what's going on? Like, all dazed and confused. And, like, because as that scene was unfolding, you started hearing lightsabers, and I'm like, seriously, don't do this. Like, do not be like, oh, we couldn't afford it. Just like, oh no.
Yeah. All we could afford was to show some lights through the trees. That's all we had.
Yeah. That was what I was worried about. I was genuinely like, no, don't do this. Luckily, this show, and again, this is all down to opinion, I think brought some of the best lightsaber action we've had in a long time.
Oh yeah,
it was incredible. I loved it. The other thing as well, which I think the show's been criticised, like the actors saying, "Oh, Anakin blood," all this stuff. Like, oh, I'm not really into it. I think you can see how hard the actors worked in this choreography, because we know from like Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen and how hard they had to work. Like, went to Jedi school to get like the saber actions right. And you got a young actor in Daphne Keane, for example, who had to do the double saber stuff. And I thought, I mean, like for me, like I said, there's some great stuff. And I've written a subheading here, so in my notes, I got lightsaber combat. I loved it. So I'm just going to pick out some bits and go to you on it. So first of all, the skewer kill. What did you think about that?
Human kebab. Yep. That was the force pull to stab a Jedi and then just force pull another one onto it. I was like, oh,
that was good.
Damn, yeah.
That was good. Headbutts to sabers. What did you think about
that? I messaged you on our WhatsApp about this.
Yeah.
That confused me.
Okay, why did it confuse you?
Like, he's headbutting a beam of energy lightsaber stuff and breaking the lightsabers, but not breaking them, just kind of turning them off for a few moments.
Well, he's just damaging them, yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm aware, like, the Mandalorians, their armor can resist the lightsaber and stuff. Yeah. That's cool. But now this one can kind of, the Beskar can kind of resist lightsaber, whereas this kind of like he headbutts them and turns them off and damages them. And I'm like, why have we never seen this again? Like, if this is set as a prequel, I'm like, there's got to be a reason why that's not being picked up by, like, why do the Mandalorians not have that shit?
Well, maybe they do. Well, I mean, if you've got a Beskar helmet, then in theory you could do that, but they possibly just don't think to do it. Whereas this guy,
this guy's like, I'm just gonna nut a lightsaber.
Well, you see,
which makes me think, like how everything has to have been practiced and tested beforehand.
Yeah.
That's a ballsy thing to just go out and freaking test it. I reckon this will work. Ugh, you did.
Yeah. See,
the alternative isn't great.
there's some dialogue in this episode which I think is really key to this, and I think talking about this with the headbutt thing is interesting because one of the Jedi, Yord, when he's trying to get Osha away, and he's like, "What was that thing?" And he's like, "It fights with no style, no Jedi, like it doesn't obey the rules of combat." So this was really interesting to me because I think, like, I saw a few people online, it's like, how many Jedi did one Sith rip through? Like, seriously. I think what you have to realise is Jedi Knights at this time especially, and right the way up until the time of the Phantom Menace really, were very stuck in this kind of, they had no rivals. They had no one really that caused them any problems. Yeah, Jedi could be killed and, it definitely happened, but they really were the supreme power, if you like, and they had their rules and how they fight, and they fight in a certain style. Don't attack an unarmed, if their backs turn, all these rules, and it's elaborated to in this episode a lot. And I just thought Yord's bit of dialogue there about he fights and he gets in your head and stuff like that. They, like, when he's headbutting the lightsabers, they would never have seen anyone do anything like that.
No, that would proper confuse you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and then like you see the two Jedi that then get skewered. He headbutts, and they're both looking at their sabers like, what do we do? Like, is he allowed to do that? Do you know what I mean? It's like this total confusion of, hey, hang on, that's not on, that's not cricket. You're not allowed to do that, dear boy.
No, I love that the idea, like when he says about how he doesn't follow the rules of combat.
Yeah.
And you think it's almost like the Jedi have this thing of I swing, you swing, I swing, you swing.
It's
take it in turns. It's a gentleman's thing.
Yeah,
and this guy's like, no, fuck you, I'll swing 3 times in a row.
No, it's funny. It's funny because you can apply this to real history on Earth. Like, so, I'm a history nerd, so let's just go back to the Napoleonic War era, right? Muskets and rifles and things like that. It was gentlemanly warfare, and I'm doing that in air quotes because warfare is just criminal no matter what it is, and the poorest people are dying, and the gentlemen, the posh folk, are like, oh, jolly good, I'll send 10,000 of these men at that wall, some of them will get through, who cares how many die. That's gentlemanly warfare, by the way. Yep. But at some point during that war, a group of riflemen took it upon themselves to be ungentlemanly, and they started shooting officers for the other side, like picking them off, and they got hung by their own side. It's like, you don't do that. That's out of order. You don't do that. That's not gentlemanly warfare. Ugh, how could you do such a thing? And it made me think of this and this, which is The Jedi are almost like, no, you don't fight like that. Oh, that's not how you do things. And Yord is just completely thrown. Like, it's just, this doesn't make sense. How can someone wield a lightsaber like that? How can someone fight that way, that aggressively? Because he never would have seen it.
No.
No,
he probably hasn't seen anyone but a Jedi with a lightsaber.
Well, of course, it's a Jedi's weapon.
So he's never, they're saying that they've never really encountered the Sith like this before.
Well,
so
no,
therefore,
they wouldn't have. To them, the Sith are extinct.
So this must be completely mind blowing.
Yeah, Soul even says, I think you wield a Jedi's weapon, but you're no Jedi. See, even Soul isn't using the word Sith. Like Soul, it isn't even in their vocabulary. Like when that saber goes red, none of them go, "Oh no, it's a Sith Lord." It's just not. It's not even a thing. It's not. The Sith are extinct. It's just not a thing at all of what this guy is. So it's intriguing like that. I think a lot of people perhaps have struggled with that. Like why are they struggling so much? Why is this one able to cut through them? Because he is fighting from an anger, a perspective, and a way, and a style. Like they've got no training. They've got nothing to go against that. Like saber combat to them is sparring. It's like like you said, paddy thrust, good. It's just all kind of, this is how you fight with a lightsaber. Oh, the person's disarmed. Okay, I will wait for you to pick your saber back up because that's what we do. We're gentlemanly. Do.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy is like, no, slash, thrust, headbutt, skewer, and it is visually. I thought it was stunning. This fight.
Oh yes. Yes.
Brilliant. And it went on. So the next part of it I wanted to talk about was I've just written down like my note is Sith versus Soul. So those two kind of go head to head for a while. And we get a really great line around the helmet, like, well, would Master wear a helmet? And he sort of says, like, well, Master hide his face, and he's like, well, you tell me. And I thought, okay, that again is a hint of you're pretending to be someone you're not, Soul. So I'm like, okay, me and you theorized a little bit, oh no, it's going to end up being Soul, the one we've all liked from day one. It's going to end up with being the bastards. And he says, I wear this helmet so you can't read my mind, Jedi.
Yeah.
That was intriguing. For
Very
many
X-Men.
reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no context spoilers. Bit of Magneto going on. So, for me, two parts to this. One is the helmet was clearly a weapon, with the headbutt and lightsaber stuff, which was cool. But also, sort of covering his face as he reveals in this, like, the Jedi say I cannot exist, so I have to remain hidden. So I wore a helmet. I covered it, and now you've seen my face. You've all got to die. And I thought that was quite intriguing. That was quite telling and quite brutal and very, very direct. It's like his combat was direct, his dialogue was direct, which again I think threw the Jedi off. Like, what do you mean you're just going to kill people? That's not right.
You can't just kill. That's not fair. No.
Yeah.
Fair chance. And like he makes like part of his speech that he makes about the whole like I just want to have an acolyte. I just want to be able to do things my way, and you won't let me. And all this kind of like to him, the Jedi are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Because, I have this power, and I'm not allowed to use my power. I'm not allowed to do what I want to do. I'm not allowed to have a trainee with me. I'm not allowed to do this, all because you guys have got rules that I don't follow.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I like that. A lot of people agree. I like that. Okay, this is the villain in air quotes, but the villain's making some points. The villain's saying some stuff, and Soul, who is the good guy again in air quotes, appears that there's some issues there. So I like things that aren't straightforward. I think perhaps a lot of people are being critical because Jedi good, Sith bad. I think these same people love the Clone Wars, and I think if you really think about the Clone Wars, one of the main messages is the Jedi weren't all good. There's a lot of bad Jedi and a lot of stupid Jedi and ignorant and kind of they weren't all
like
good.
in this, they're just like they almost come across as like naive in this.
Very naive, yeah. Certainly the bunch that we just saw got ripped through. Now, when we saw this big group of Jedi go on this mission, obviously we knew Yord, Jackie, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her name.
Yep.
X-23 Jedi. You kind of like for me, I was like, okay, so we got a lot of red shirts, because I don't know any of their names. They've just shown up. They're the ones that are going to get ripped through in this episode.
Yeah, they're the cannon fodder. Yep.
So when I saw Jackie had her sort of confrontation with May, and then she ends up going head to head with the Sith. He headbutts her saber again, but she's got Master Kanaka's saber, which she took off of May. You took his saber. I was like, that's so funny. Like, you can't do that.
Like proper offended by it.
But
like,
that,
you can't
again,
take another
one. That's another example of this kind of gentlemanly combat. Like, that's really that's rude. Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
But it's like, why would she not? But yeah, to the Jedi, this is so left field. And then we get to see her hold her own with double wielding, which I thought was a brilliant visual. You could tell how hard they worked, by the way. Like I like that choreography, I thought was excellent.
I was very surprised when she perished. Did not expect that.
Well, yeah, I mean, damn, dude, you're like just jumping on my point.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I thought the fight was brilliant. I thought like her holding her own was fantastic. Then
the fact that he had ripped through that many Jedi so quickly, and there is this young. Just Padawan, not much more than a Padawan kind of coming and holding her own. You're like,
she is. She is literally Soul's. She is Soul's Padawan, really doing well. Soul as well also then joins in the fight, but she becomes possibly goes in that little bit hard, takes his helmet off, and then he kills her in like this incredible. Like, he basically detaches part of his lightsaber, creates almost like a dagger, and stabs her like 3 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god.
Like, I was stuck in this. That's awesome. The fact that he can make his lightsaber a dagger. I'm like, that's oh my god, he's done that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was just like, wow, okay, that was... So... One, it was a shock because we'd seen the red shirts all die, and I think we all kind of thought, okay, that's... Yeah, we kind of knew. When a load of people were like, oh, look, a brand new group of Jedi. Yeah, they're all dead. They're the ones that are dying.
Yeah, give me names or I know they're dead. Yeah.
We saw them get ripped through and die, and so I was kind of... So to see her die like that, I was shocked. Genuinely shocked. And I thought it really added to the episode, though. Like, it really added to this guy. It's such a threat. She did break his helmet. The helmet did drop to the floor, so we did get the reveal. And I'm delighted to say I called it.
You did. My theory was better, but you got it right.
I don't think your theory was better at all. I think
I have evidence from last week's podcast. You said my theory was better.
Nah, your theory was good. I think what was interesting as well is I think they wrote it so we'd have that theory, because in this episode he gets in your head, and Osha says my mother had that ability to get in a Jedi's head. So I was like, okay,
here we go.
So I think they set it up for us to have like, maybe it's so-and-so, maybe it's so-and-so. It's too obvious to be that person. It must be this person. So that's good writing, isn't it? Like, isn't that the definition of good writing when we're kept guessing? And people are like, it was so obviously him. Well, then you weren't paying attention. Because actually they were laying breadcrumbs, and like you said, like the theory around that was, in a lot of ways, made more sense. And they were clearly hinting towards it as well. Yeah. So it being revealed to him... I gave a reason last week before you trumped me with your good theory. There was a moment when he was in this shop pretending to be like the alchemist or whatever he was in that shop, and he meets Osha, his whole demeanor changed. The way he spoke changed. Like, you look just like her. He knew. It wasn't oh, hang on a minute, you're talking slightly different. Like, why are you sounding differently? He knew. Like, it wasn't a doubt or anything like that. So, now knowing who he is, that makes perfect sense. He'd have sensed it. Him being that powerful and strong and being able to kind of fool the Jedi in, like, acting as if he was some innocent, we actually see in this episode again when he grabs May and he's got his saber to her head, like, I'm gonna ignite this and execute her in front of you, which was pretty awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
He then, I think, I don't know, yeah, it's Yord. Yord shows up and he turns to you like, it's you. And his demeanor changes and he goes back to that voice like, oh, hi. And you're like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
That is so good. And I just want a little side note here. There's a fantastic TV show called The Good Place. If you've not watched it, it's a sitcom. I highly recommend it. It's very funny, a fantastic cast. And this gentleman playing the Sith plays the original Florida man in it from Jacksonville. And he's the dumbest but most wonderful character in the history of TV. Yeah, the Jags rule. Bortles!
Yeah.
And so seeing him in this role, one, I think he's brilliant. Like, for me, every time I've seen him so far, he's been from The Good Place. It's Jason Mendoza. In this episode, although obviously he's still that for me, he helped, like, his lines, his look, like the physique, like his arms are ripped and everything. He looked different. Like, when he was being the Sith, he looked the part. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, completely. Yeah.
And then that little demeanor change to this friendly, like, oh, that's Jason again. Like, oh, that friendly kind of like, hi. And then bang, back. And like this locked in, slower paced dialogue. Very deliberate in every word he said. And then he's holding that. And then Yord attacks him. He breaks Yord's neck. Mate, that...
that was something.
That was incredible. Like, that... For so many reasons. One, that's a character we've all seen heavily in the trailers, heavily featured since episode 1. A main character of the show, without a doubt. Just like Daphne Keene's character, Jackie.
Yep.
Not sure how to say it. So to see her die was shocking. So then moments later, and it's brutal. Like saber combat, stabbed with saber. Yeah, okay, we're watching that, cut, thrust, all that. He spun him around, eye contact with Soul, and broke his neck and just threw him on the ground like trash.
Yeah, that was quite... It was rather ungentlemanly, very un-Jedi.
Yeah, this is the point. He's fighting from a place of rage, anger. His actions are, is Sith. He is Sith. And what did you think to the dialogue around, like, what are you? I don't have a name.
Oh, you might call me Sith, and it was like, oh, okay.
What did you think to that? Because that felt like very deliberate dialogue that he is not self-identifying as a Sith Lord, but he's basically saying, I just use the dark side of the Force, and you brand me Sith. Like, that is like,
he was like, I fully accepted the darkness, and I use it. Not, I am dark. He's not saying, I am dark, I am evil, etc. He just says, I've embraced it.
Yeah.
And I use it. And therefore, that's all he's like, you might call me Sith. I don't call myself Sith.
No.
I have no name. I am nothing. You might call me this, though. And it's like, okay. It felt
like, from his point of view, you touched on this, he's basically saying the Jedi persecute him. He's basically saying, I'm different to you. I wield the Force in my own way, and you have basically outlawed me and said I cannot exist. When you look at it from that perspective, it's like, oh, wow, okay, yeah. And I know you know you can apply this to the world we live in with minorities and all different sort of races, religions, and all these different things where people feel that way. Like you are making it so I cannot exist, and all I want to do is live my life. Because he says, "What do you want? Freedom. I
Yeah.
want to be free to wield my power how I want to wield it." So do you? I mean, is
Does that mean he wants to just rip through people and kill people,
yeah,
or does he
yeah,
just
yeah.
want to,
Live
you know?
on an island and do what he wants, and it's interesting, and it's like because he is brutal, he is the enemy, he is a bad guy in this. There's no disputing that. But him offering that perspective, I think, adds so much depth to a character and so much intrigue. I'm loving that. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to know more about him. I want to, because the Sith all have like typically have names like Darth Plagueis, Darth Sidious, you know, Darth Vader, and all these different sort of Sith lords that have existed that are, you know, canon and characters that we know of.
Yep.
Where's this guy gonna sit? Are we basically creating a kind of lore here where always two there are, but that doesn't mean like because we know force sensitive people exist all over the galaxy.
Yes.
The Jedi were finding you as a child, dragging you in and training you, but that doesn't. They couldn't possibly identify everyone. Some families might have hidden kids away, like, oh, I don't want my kid to be taken off. Stop making shit float. Don't let them see. You know.
Yeah.
And so there's bound to be force sensitive people everywhere. So
Yeah.
if all of those people are using the light side of the force, it stands to reason that there'd be people out there who are tapping into the dark side because they're force sensitive and something might happen to them. You know.
The equivalent of turning to crime, the Dark Underlords.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of having a rough up.
There's been a bank heist. How did it happen? There's just some guy using the force to turn all the safe dials, and
Yeah. So basically, you know, some kid born in a posh part of Coruscant who's force sensitive, he's gonna have all the Jedi training and everything. And there's some kid force sensitive born in like the underworld. His experience is going to be different. He's not going to be tapping into all sweetness and light and happy and family and
he's going to be breaking people's legs from 200 feet away because
exactly.
yeah.
So it's I like that. I feel like we've opened up a whole new kind of intrigue and a new thing. So to me, it's interesting. I like it. I know some people don't, but whatever. One of the things that then happens after Yord's death is Soul attacks him, and Soul attacks in anger. Soul is a Jedi, and Soul has been fighting very Jedi. And by the way, Soul is the only one. I know we saw Jackie really hold her own for a while, but Soul seems to be the only one who really holds his own, if that makes sense. Like they've fought on and off 3 or 4 times to this point in the episode, and each time the Sith kind of, not saying run away, but kind of moved away, like, actually, you know, I can't beat this guy, so I'm going to step away.
There was one moment where it kind of looked like he could have had the beating of Soul.
Yeah.
And then he decides to stop and start talking, and I'm like, typical bad guy move.
Monologuing,
Yeah.
But then again, I still, like, even in that moment, you're right, it looked like he was on top, but I'm not sure he had him beat. I think it was just kind of, he was on top in that moment and was just kind of almost arrogantly kind of, I'm gonna talk shit to you. like I'm so kicking your ass that I can just like do a moonwalk in front of you right now and doesn't matter. Which again I think is kind of dark side. You know, like the Jedi are all kind of like, oh, you've dropped your saber. Please pick that up so we can continue fighting. This guy's like, in your face, bitch. I'm whooping your ass. You know, a bit of Jason Mendoza there for anyone who was wondering. Just gonna throw a Molotov. By the way, I don't care, but if this Sith throws anything that could resemble a Molotov in this, I'll just die happy. just so everyone's aware. But anyway, going back to this, Soul attacks him with anger. What did you think of this scene? Because he wins, channeling that anger. He wins the fight and is about to kill him, and he's stopped by Osha. What did you think about this scene? Because I have a real strong kind of, hang on.
Yeah, that was very, again, un-Jedi. That was,
There was
We've
nothing
seen it.
Jedi about that, was it?
No,
There
it was
nothing.
pure kind of anger and just like, no, I'm going to defeat you. You've done this to me. You've just killed two of my people. That's it. You're dead now. I'm killing you. This is over.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no. Especially at this time that we're seeing, it's very much a case of no, Jedi.
Yeah.
You arrest them. You put them in cuffs. You're the cops. You just put them in prison.
Mate, what you just said then, spot on, and it's a point really needs illustrating is about the time. A lot of people have in their minds the Jedi that we saw like post Clone Wars, Anakin, Ahsoka, they were soldiers. They were being trained to fight a war. Back at this point, they're a police force. You know, me and you have almost joked about it, like, hey, in the name of the Galactic Republic, put your hands up. They are literally acting like a police force. And they're putting cuffs on people. You know, they are the definition, definition of policing. So, what did you think about? So he goes for it, and he's about to kill him, and Osha stops him. What's your thoughts on this?
It's that typical bloody kids getting in the way. God, like he was gonna do it, but then at the same time, the fact that he was about to kill him, kind of leads into that whole. There is more to this.
Yeah, there is.
There is definitely more to this, and he even makes the bad guy makes the point of like and Osha's then like, why did he say that? Why has he said that? What's going on? And it's kind of like, this is now really building.
So the Sith says, he's your master after all he did to you? I'm like, what did he do to her? Like, as far as we're aware, he saved her.
He saved her, he raised her, he let her leave. What has he done?
So let's just grab a couple of bits of dialogue. So that he's your master, question, after all he did to you. So that's okay. What's he getting at? You know, he's a Sith. He's possibly just talking shit. When May approaches her sister with love in this scene and forgiveness. Like, this is May, and says, you've been brainwashed. Don't worry. Don't ever pick them over me again. Don't worry. We'll sort this out, but you've been brainwashed.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, come on. When this show started, May is bad, Sith are bad, Jedi good, Osha's good. In this moment where she says to her, you've been brainwashed, do you think that flashback we sold is reliable, or do you think that flashback we saw was the narrative as far as
what the Jedi have taught her all her life?
Yeah. Do you think
like surely if you get told something at a young age enough, you are going to believe it?
Also, the Jedi have the ability to make you believe it.
This is true. They have their whole mind.
You know, all he'd literally need to do is just wave a hand. You know, your sister started the fire. Your sister didn't want you to leave and wanted you to die. Your sister did this. You didn't see me kill your mother. You didn't see me blow up the place.
Yep.
You've been brainwashed. Now, there's different ways you can look at this. One is May is just believing that, because the events did happen as they are. They were separated, and she's just like, how could you become a Jedi, you know, when all of that happened because they arrived, which is true. You know, you can definitely say that. The Jedi arrived up until that point, the witches were, you know, kicking back, enjoying life. The Jedi arrived and everything went bad. So, you know, she can certainly have a justified feeling of they're the reason my whole family, my whole coven died. So you can look at it from the point of view of how could you be with them? They must have brainwashed you. Or when you put the context of seeing how Soul did that with that anger and the kind of reaction of like, that's not the first time you've done it, this, is it? It's not the first time you've tapped into your darkness. What was it he says? He says, like, I've embraced my darkness. What are you doing with yours?
Something like that, yeah.
What have you done with yours? And it's like, these lines, and like I said...
wait a minute. There's something here.
Do you think we're at a point now where we can probably predict now that Soul did something bad?
Yeah, I think so.
Like those 4 Jedi engaged in a fight with those witches, and Soul perhaps in anger killed someone. Perhaps in anger killed May's and Osha's mother's. I don't know. It's because it's like Soul as a character. I really like. I think the actor's done a phenomenal job. Apparently, he learned English for this role. By the way, like I just can't even comprehend how incredible people are. Like, this guy's learned English and now is just nailing these scenes. I'm like, oh, I barely got out of bed today. It's like, come on, you overachieving bastards. It's like, I'm doing a podcast and I'm tired. So I just
I do like to think if someone from Star Wars came up to me and said, "You must learn to do this," I would put effort in. I would put the effort in. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always liked to think that I could do things, but life at 41 years old has taught me maybe I can't.
It's like those little intrusive thoughts of like, yeah, I could do that.
No. I see. In my 20s, I was convinced I could do things. In my 30s, I was thought, yeah, I could probably do that if I really set my mind to it. I'm 41 and nah. If I actually genuinely could do those things, I'd have done them by now. So nah, they're clearly not for me. We then move on to the bit where I think most people had an issue with this episode. So I'm going to talk it through the events, and then I'd like us to kind of dive through it. So the twins sort of fight. Soul was taken down. And May, a nice little nod to when they were kids, you always didn't know how to block, puts Osha on her ass, and then has an idea. And she's going to do a bit of twin magic here, where she cuts her hair with a saber perfectly, by the way. Hairstylists across the galaxy far, far away are out of work, because they can just use a saber to chop it perfectly.
All I need to do is bend over forwards and one slice and flick. So
I want to mock that a little bit, but at the same time, it looked cool. I like that. That was a cool visual. Like, if I was creating this show and I had that, I'd be like, yeah, that's gonna look cool. Let's do it. I don't care. I don't care that like it isn't gonna. Obviously, it's not gonna. When it's stopped, it's like, oh wow, it's like perfect, exactly like your sister. No, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on it was a cool-ass visual. By the way, anyone who's ever burnt hair will know the smell of that. That'd have been rank, right? That'd have been really gross. So that happens. She swaps clothes with her sister. We see that. We don't see her do it, but we know it's what's happened. She then wakes up Soul, get back to the ship. Now, there's a deliberate bit of dialogue here where Soul says, "Where's your sister?" to her. She doesn't say, "Where's May?" And say, "Where's Osha?" even. Says, "Where's your sister?" And she's like, "Oh, she's gone." And he's like, "Okay, let's get back to the ship." Now, people are kicking off about this because they're like, how could a Jedi Master not sense that that's the wrong person?
Now, this is where I'm having a bit of a theory again.
Go on, bring it.
We've gone the whole way through the fact that May is going to be the bad twin.
Yeah.
I now have this weird suspicion that Osha and May, Soul and the bad guy, they know that they've switched because they are full sensitive. They would have been able to feel it. Like, he felt it just in that shot with Osha. He felt like, you're just like her. He felt it. So they know that that's happened.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they know that's happened.
Well, I know.
We know a lot of truth to tell Osha. Like, from what he was said in that bit of combat, I'm like, oh my God, he is actually going to turn Osha into the bad one. Like, he is going to tell her all the truths of what actually happened.
Yeah.
And she's going to become like the bad guy and it'd be like, that'd be cool.
I think Osha becoming the Acolyte is brilliant. And I like that theory a lot. I really like that theory. He 100% knows that's Osha because we know as the audience because of the tattoo. He knows. Yep. Weird dialogue. What extraordinary beings we are, that even in our great triumphs we can find our despair. That was weird. No context to that. That's weird. But it's
that's also a weird line. Yeah,
it's Sith because he's focusing on the darkness and the despair. Like a Jedi would be like, oh, even in our darkest hours, there's hope. He's like, even when we triumph, there's still despair. Like, it's like, ooh, that's a really You shouldn't work on a suicide hotline ever.
No.
So I think
the reason as well, I think I know that he knows it's Osher, not May.
Yeah.
Is that he was ready to kill May. The last time he saw her,
yeah,
he was ready to kill her because she had betrayed him.
yeah.
And now she's laying defenseless on the floor.
I don't
and he
think
covers her in a blanket.
Yeah, mate.
And I'm like,
I don't think it's because when he turns her over and he sees the tattoo, he knows. You know, there's no. I don't think that's a kind of. I don't think it's a debate that he knows who it is. I think the debate is whether Soul knows that's May. We know the tracker knows because he's sniffing like crazy. So if in the next episode, the next episode he knows it's May and he turns around and goes, "Where's Osher, May?" I think a lot of people owe the writers an apology. I genuinely do. If in the next episode he only finds out it's May because of the tracker,
the little tracker stood outside her bedroom door just screaming.
Yeah. Me personally, I am going to be a little disappointed in that because he's supposed to be a Jedi Master.
Yes.
And he's been Osher was his Padawan, got a great connection with her because of the events and all this stuff. I would find that difficult to understand why he wouldn't know. Like, I'd need an explanation, like, how were you able to block me sensing you? You know, how I'd need him to be like, how did he, and her to say, like, you know, I learned a lot from my master. You know, there'd need to be something that would enable me to be like, okay, because that'd be a little bit irksome. But I
also want to know, is she still out to kill him, or has she stopped that now? Like,
no, I think
she's on the spaceship with him now, and now I'm kind of like, wait a minute.
I think she wants to confront him. I think she was on a killing spree. I think she was fulfilling this task, and I think because she now knows the Sith want to kill her, like, she needs to get away. Like, that guy will kill me. The Jedi will arrest me. So better to be there.
I know what side I'd rather
better to be there. And I think now, in this moment, what she wants to do is confront him. And I think this could open us up to being quite an interesting thing, because one of the great things in Star Wars, one of my favourite lines about it, is when Luke Skywalker turns to the Force Ghost of Kenobi and says, "Why didn't you tell me he was my father? You told me he was dead." Well, you know, Anakin ceased to exist, so from what I told you was true from a certain point of view. I think we could be into a very interesting thing here, all about the perspective and the point of view, because I think she is going to confront him. I think May is going to confront him with, "I saw you strike down my mother. I saw you do this. I saw you do it in anger and she was unarmed." And I think he's going to say, "No, you saw the reaction. My Padawan, your mother attacked my Padawan. He had the scar, you know, this happened. I was defending him and I reacted. Yes, I shouldn't have reacted in anger in that, but I was attacked first. You didn't see it." Now, that is her perspective. All her life has been, "I saw you strike down my mother. I hate you. The Jedi are scum." And he's going to put it in perspective of, like, no, she attacked us first. And this was me defending myself. And I went too far, and I know that. But I wanted to save you both. And then May's going to soften, like, "Oh, okay, yeah, actually, yeah, I do remember my mum wanting to kill you." You know? But on
she
the
was
other
raising
side,
an army against you, yeah.
But on the other side, you're going to have Osher, who's going to have this guy say, "You don't remember, but he killed your parents. Like, this guy then raised you." So she's going to get basically the same story, but he murdered them and then took you from your sister. He knew your sister was, you know, you could just add these little bits.
Yeah, because...
And then he raised you as a Jedi. The thing that killed, the thing that your mother's hated, the thing, he did that. He did that to you. You know?
He turned you into the thing that killed them.
Yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden, the same story from different points of view could, you know, May could, okay, I understand, and Osher could then, like, become the Acolyte, like we said.
Like, my assumption is he only knows what happened through what May has said.
You'd imagine so, yeah.
So therefore, if May is convinced that he killed my parents, he did this, he burnt the place down to the ground and everything else, and that's what he's told her. then that's what he's going to tell. Yeah, that's what he's going to tell her.
Yep.
Using the darkness to kind of, like you say, add a couple of little bits and pieces in there.
Yeah. You just all you got to do is embellish the story slightly, and you turn that into something completely maniacal, evil.
Yeah. The bridge collapsed and you fell. That's not what happened. Did you not?
Do you not remember?
He pushed her. He saved you.
Yeah. Do you not remember that? And you could also. You got to add into the fact what's just happened. Like, he kept saying, I'll explain to you later. Like, look, we got to get through this. I'll explain to you later. So she knows there's a thing. So if someone then comes, if someone comes along now and goes, this is what the thing is, she's never going to hear it from him, his side of it, his perspective. She's only going to hear that. And of course, her sister just said to her, you've been brainwashed.
Everything is now kind of falling into place for her to kind of get this moment of clarity and all this.
So what do you think? Do you reckon we're on to something with this?
I think so. I think as soon as I saw the end of the episode, I was like, oh my God, we've had the Acolyte the wrong person. Oh my gosh, it's actually going to be her, not me.
So what do you think to the criticisms over the writing then? Because I personally think they're taking us on a ride here. And like, even the bits I'm like, they revealed that. Oh, okay. Oh, hang on. No, wait. No, I'm being subverted. I'm going this way when I thought I was going that way. And even though I said like Jason Mendoza's the Sith, that's his official name.
Yeah.
You gave me that other fear, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So I wasn't sure. Like, I wasn't 100%. Like, your fear, like, I didn't go into this week going, no way. Like, if your theory had been right, I'd have been like, oh, no, that sucks. You know, I was like, oh, yeah, that works. That really works.
It's either going to be Darth Mother or Darth Jags Rule.
Yeah, but both worked. And it's like, okay, so you're keeping us guessing. This isn't
And
bad
then
writing.
this episode, they kind of gave us a couple of little tweaks that made us go, it could be the mother.
Yeah,
he does the things the mother does. Oh, okay. And now we've kind of, even from the very first episode, we've been asking, what the hell did the Jedi do then?
Yeah.
What did the Jedi do? Like, if it was so predictable and terrible writing, surely you'd be like, well, obviously the Jedi did this, they did this, and they did this.
But it's the fact that we're predicting it. We could be right. We could have all this nailed on. And you could then argue, if we were able to predict it. No. Part of the fun of this type of genre, these type of shows, is you make predictions. You're kind of trying to work out. You're trying to... And the fact that you are every episode being a little bit more breadcrumbs, and the picture perhaps is getting clearer. If I'm right at the end, that's not shit writing. That's really good. It means they've been giving me little bits... means they've been giving me little bits of the picture, and I've put it together myself, and I'm right, and I'm delighted. And if they go a slightly different way, or if it is different than what we predict, I hope I enjoy it as much. I know sometimes it's like, I've put it together, it's brilliant, they go a different way, and you're like, oh, that sucks compared to my theory. What? Yeah.
I now always kind of go back to WandaVision for this sort of thing.
Yeah, man, that was
the amount crazy. Of fan theories and everything that went through that.
Oh my God, the Sith is Mephisto. Why have I not put this together before?
Agatha all along.
Yeah, it was Agatha.
And that show, like, that led us down so many different garden paths.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Even to the stupid thing of they had a fly buzzing around, which everyone linked to the comic book of, they did that, and then they gave us a complete left-wing, never kind of expected character. No. There it is. And you're like, okay. Whereas no one criticised that for terrible writing or nothing like that at all. It seems a lot, again, like, it's easy to hate on something if you want to hate on it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely spot on. Mate, I have gone through all of my notes. I've covered all the parts I wanted to cover. In fact, we've gone a bit further, which I'm delighted with. There's some bits in that I think we've had really good revelations in this episode. Is there any other bits and pieces from episode 5 you wanted to cover?
I don't think so.
Brilliant.
No, I think I still want a sniffer dude, but apart from that,
yeah, that's his official name, Sniffer Dude. Screechy McSniffer Dude. We will be back next week to discuss episode 6. Hopefully to see that our theories are correct, so we can be really smug. hope you're all enjoying this. Hope you've enjoyed our podcast and breaking this down in discussion. If you are enjoying the show, please do get in touch. Let us know your thoughts on what you think about our theories. If you're hating the show, feel free to keep it to yourself, man. Because you're watching it, you're listening to a podcast on it. Just keep the rage. Just channel it elsewhere. my inbox doesn't need it. I mean, I realise in saying that I'm going to get called all sorts now, but never mind. We will be back next week to discuss episode 6 of The Acolyte. Until then, everybody, you will take care.
And embrace the darkness.
Was that its name?
She was a child.
You brought her here.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.